18th of September 2024, and very special day today, Vishvarupa mahotsava and the sannyasa ceremony of our beloved Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we'll discuss both of these topics today, and we'll have a kirtan first. Do you play kartals?
Not so well. Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavari Paschatya Vishakarine Nama Vishnupadaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Vishavitinane Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gauda Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gauda Hari, Jaya Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gauda Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gauda, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe,
Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavaga Giridhare Radha Madhav Ju Ki Jai Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Jai Sachinandana Gauda Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Vibhushan Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya Ki Jai Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhakta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Arupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikha Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gauda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai Shri Antadvip Vayapo Simantadvip Gautramdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ridudvip Janadvip Modamdvip Rududvip Abhakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigo Govardhan Dwarasavar Matmika Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai Radha Kun Shama Kun Ganga Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vignavanasa Karishina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charidam Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Acharya Ki Jai Akadamat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Goda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Sarupe Jayata Sarupe Prema Sarupe Sahajiva Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swabilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Varatino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Tutikatam Vasatipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam pravajantamanapetyam apetitrityam dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava putreti tam mayatayo taravo venidustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shiptascha karmadi tarangamadye kripamai tvam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanada vrindam Bhajami radam aravinda netram Smarami radam madhurashmitasyam Vadami radam karuna bharadram Tato mamanasti katyena kapi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina Iti vignaya rate tvam nayamam charnantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarzara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarzara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And on this illustrious day, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namaha. Gets colder now without any hair on the head. So today is Vishvarupa mahotsava, and this is the day that Mahaprabhu discovered the place of his dearmost elder brother, Vishvarupa. Vishvarupa is described as Nityananda Vaibhav Prakash. Nityananda is the Mool Tattva. And just like Balaram, he always manifests before Krishna. He manifested in the womb of Devaki, prepared the womb of Devaki for his brother Krishna to come. And then he was transferred to the womb of Rohini. So in the same way, Vishwarup, he manifests as the brother of Nimai Pandit, as brother of Mahaprabhu, in Navadvip. And he was older than Mahaprabhu, and he was always like a guiding light for Mahaprabhu. He was very sober, he was very studious, he was very gentle, extremely gentle behavior, and he would study regularly with Advaita Acharya. Together they would study. And Advaita Acharya took great pleasure in the company of Vishwarupa. All the Vaishnavas loved Vishwarupa. And when Mahaprabhu sometimes was misbehaving as a child, as soon as his elder brother came, he would immediately be gentle and quiet. So there's a very loving mood is described between Vishwarupa and Nimai Pandit at that time. But then one day, Vishwarupa, when he's about 17, 18 years old, perhaps 19, 18, then he hears his parents over talking about his marriage. This is the principal focus of Indian life, is marriage. Everyone gets married. So the parents, Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra, they were discussing plans for the wedding of Vishwarupa. When Vishwarupa heard this, he was so much detached from this material world. He had nothing to do with this material world whatsoever. And got a seat? There's some more things in the room next door if you sit on. When he heard this, he knew that he had to leave home. He knew there would be only argument, and he knew that he could not get married. He knew that that was completely out of the question in his life. And he knew that his mother and father would not agree to that. So the only recourse he had was to leave home. He had no other choice. So he left home to take sannyas. And he goes to South India and he takes the name Sankaranya. Sankaranya is his name. Sanka Aranya. Aranya means the forest. Sankaranya. And then he remained in South India. So when Mahaprabhu himself, in 1510, finally leaves home to take sannyas also, then he comes to Puri and he immediately wants to tour South India on the excuse of seeking his brother. This is what he's telling Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and the other devotees in Puri, that he wants to go and find his brother and see, what happened in his life, etc. He loved his brother so much. And as he was traveling through, he came to a place, Pandharpur. In Pandharpur, they described to him, the devotees there, about Sankaranya, about Vishvarupa. And they indicated the place of his departure near the river Bhima. There's a river Bhima there. And there's a place marking his direct. He merges into the deity of Vitala, this beautiful deity there. And it's described by my Gurudev that at that time he merged into the body of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu had already taken birth from Ineka Chakra and was traveling around. Nityananda Prabhu was in Vrindavan. And then that part, because I explained at the beginning, he's Vaibhav Prakash. That Prakash means light, the illumination of Baladev Prabhu. This is who Vishvarupa is. But that illumination merges back into the body of Baladev Nityananda Rai, at the time of his departure. So that other part of Balaram, of Nityananda, merges back into his body. So then, when Mahaprabhu discovered, on this day he discovered that his brother had left his body, then Mahaprabhu was following strictly Chaturmasya. And in Chaturmasya, it's for brahmacharis and sannyasis, they should perform the vrat of not shaving. And it really is an austerity, because it's actually the hottest season. It's the most uncomfortable, sweaty season. And when you've got these big beards, it's very, very uncomfortable. So we're very fortunate that on this particular day, Mahaprabhu shaved his face clean and his head clean in honor of his brother, because this was the correct formula to do. When the ritual, when the deceased passes away, then you shave. You often see people just shaved heads and so on, and they're not devotees, but they're shaving because of they're honoring their departed ancestors and so on, their relatives. So on this day, Mahaprabhu, he shaves. So we also observe the same principle of shaving on this day, rather than going for 4 months with hair on our faces. Then we also break that Chaturmasya at this today. So this is we are remembering Mahaprabhu deeply on this day by this pastime when he's seeking his brother in South India. And we remember about his brother, the speciality and beauty of his brother, the gentleness of his brother. And then we understand him merging into the body of Nityananda Rai. And on this occasion, on this special day, this is the day when my Gurudev had been encouraging Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, at that time Abhay Charan, to take the sannyas order. And Abhay Charan, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, was very reluctant. He had had a couple of dreams where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had come in his dreams, indicating him to take this sannyas order. Because in order to carry out the instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, it was necessary, indeed necessary, for him to take this sannyas order. In the sannyas renounced order, there's a great potency that comes from the Guru Varga. If you're following correctly, then all the Guru Varga will come and support this ashram. So it was necessary for Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to step into that renounced order to perform the Herculean task that had been ordered by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, to go across the ocean and preach. And I was just reflecting today that at that time, for an older person, I think he was about 69, 70 years old at that time, 69 when he actually took sannyas. He left this world when he was about 80, I think, 81, 82, in 1977. So he was born in 1923. So do the mathematics. You're the mathematician. 1923 to 1977. Oh, so 1896. 1896, he took his birth. He met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in 1823. That was when he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But he took his birth in 1896. 81, yes, that's what I thought, 81. So he was actually on Western soil for about 11 years, 12 years practically, 11 years. But prior to this, so he was about 68 years old when he took that renounced order. He'd already left his family, or his family had left him. That was a amazing pastime where his wife traded his Bhagavad Gita for tea. The Walla had his scale, and there was tea on one side and the Bhagavad Gita on the other. And she sold the Bhagavad Gita while Prabhupada was out of the house. Prabhupada was mortified. How could you sell my Bhagavad Gita? So from that point, the lines were broken. And shortly afterwards, then he remained separated from her. But he was such a dutiful personality, always fulfilling his family obligations, etc., taking care of his children and so on. But then my Gurudev encouraged him on this day, and he'd encouraged him many times previously to take this renounced order, but Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had been very, very hesitant. It was a big thing. He didn't want to do like that. So on this day, he agreed. And it was actually Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj who finally encouraged him to take this sannyas order. And there was an older gentleman in the mutt at that time, Muni Maharaj he became, and he said, I will take with you if you take. And he was about 85, 86 years old. He was a very old man. But then they both took together. And my Gurudev, he made the yagya pit, he made the sannyas danda for Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He collected his dress, his vesh, his kopin, etc., and dyed his cloth, prepared everything for him. Because they were bosom friends, really. Especially Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj was a bosom friend of Abhay Charan at the time. And then my Gurudev, because his Gurudev was so much inclined towards Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, then my Gurudev was also always honoring him greatly. And when my Gurudev finally went to the West himself, he was describing Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as his Shiksha Guru. And he was following in his footsteps. So when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had taken that sannyas order, then previously he was writing his Back to Godhead. He was traveling to Delhi under great difficulties and collecting 5 rupees here, 5 rupees there, enough just to publish his magazine, his Back to Godhead. He was taking the instruction of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, very, very seriously, to preach to the Western people. And this directive had really landed in his heart, but he had been hesitant in fulfilling that. This is how he describes it himself, that I was hesitant to fulfill the order of my Guru. But at the same time, he was doing activities like the publication of this Bhakti Godhead. And he would write most of the articles himself in English and edit, etc., and then peddle it around in Delhi in great heat temperatures and so on. It was most austere when he was performing that. But straight after his sannyas ceremony, then he went to Jhansi. And Jhansi is quite close to Mathura, not so far away. And he stayed in Jhansi for a couple of years, trying to create a movement, a league of devotees is what he termed it. He called it like that. And he bought a beautiful deity of Mahaprabhu to place in the... They were trying to secure a property in Jhansi. And it was practically, they'd practically caught it. And right at the last minute, it failed. The landlord, the owner decided he wasn't going to sell it. So that was a blow for Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. But we can see now in the light of history that Krishna is just arranging absolutely everything. So after his Jhansi period finished and it wasn't coming to the success that he had hoped it would come to. So after this, then he began planning, how will I fulfill the directive of my beloved Gurudev and go to the Western worlds? And this was very intimidating. Just imagine a man of advanced age, never been like today, we just, so many people easily just cross over the ocean and go everywhere. But in those days, a traditional Indian gentleman didn't go across the ocean, certainly not a sannyasi. This was really like not common at all. Anyway, he fearlessly approached the, what's that line called? Jaladutra is the boat, but the line Skinder? The, huh?
The lady's name?
Yeah, no, yes. The,
Scandinavian?
no, Scandi, anyway. He approached that lady of the Scindia, I think it's called Scindia, company.
Muraji.
Huh?
Muraji?
Muraji, yeah, but the name of the company. And then he convinced her, and she's there on a recorded interview, that she was very much trying to dissuade, she would call him Swamiji, very much trying to dissuade him. Why are you trying to go across the ocean at your advanced age? You should stay here. India is in need of saints of your caliber to preach to them. But he was fixed. And finally he got a berth on the Jaladuta, as we know the pastime, and went across the ocean. But it was with the beginning of this day, on this Vishvarupa Mahotsava, when he got the sannyas order, when he had the renounced order there, then this is when his vision, his horizon, opened up completely to entertaining the possibility of crossing over the ocean on the order of his beloved Gurudev. And then we know the history. He landed in Boston after 2 heart attacks on the boat. And just because of his utter nishta and dedication to his Gurudev, then in such a short, miraculous time, the entire ISKCON society manifested. Just in 10, 11 short years, thousands and thousands and thousands of young men and women came to him, and he was able to benedict them all with the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Particularly at this time also, he was preparing his purports for Srimad Bhagavatam. He had already written the Bhagavad Gita, and he was carrying, was it the first 3 volumes of his Srimad Bhagavatam with him to America. Just in one trunk he had. Something like he had 40 or 50 rupees. He had nothing. Completely dependent on Krishna. Why should he not be dependent on Krishna? And Krishna reciprocated in such a powerful way for us all. Only this person, through his dedication, came to the Western world. Others had come previously. There was Hriday Bon Maharaj, Prem Pradeep Maharaj, Bhakti Prem Pradeep Maharaj, and there was Bhakti Sarang Goswami. He also came, these 3. But how did they preach? They went and visited King George V. They visited the Lord of Jutland, and all the aristocracy. They tried to move into this area, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. If you get the elite, then they might filter the teachings down to the general people. So it made good sound sense, but that wasn't what Krishna wanted. And when, in contrast, when Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he began his preaching, he went to the lowest place in the Bowery in New York and picked up those people who were just illusioned about life, etc. It was a very, very special point in history that he came. In 1966, 1967, many of the young people had become completely dissatisfied with the material way of life, totally. They called themselves hippies, and they had rejected all material attraction. Previous to that, there were the beatniks, but they were different to the hippies. The hippies were searching. They were all searching for God. That was the main sort of wave of those young people. They knew that this material society was rubbish. They could see that. There was the war in Vietnam going on. There was all kinds of disturbances, etc. on the planet. They could see that this was just ridiculous. So, but they didn't know where they were going. And they'd had a few mystical yogis come through, and they sort of dabbled with that. But when Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada came, because of his endearing character and nature, he was able to just melt the hearts of these hard-hearted, they were hard-hearted hippies. And they became very, Prabhupada in his own words, when he was asked by one reporter, he said, what is the miracle that you've done? And he said, I've turned these hippies into happies. Because they weren't happy, they were searching, but they didn't know the direction, the focus. They didn't know God, basically. If you don't have a conception of who is God, how can you feel satisfied? So he went, and with tremendous success, as we know. But it was on the back of receiving this renounced order. If he hadn't had this connection, and we also appreciate deeply today the connection with Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. Actually, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he says in a lecture in Seattle, when Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj left this world in 1968, he wrote to all the temples and said, you should place a picture of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj on your altars and worship him. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada loved Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. They were bosom friends. Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was like a fearless warrior of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had the same mood. He had the same fearless nature. And my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, had the same. And I was explaining the other day how this is all actually coming in the line from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Because they have to be fearless against the illusion of Maya that is trying to restrict their movements. I mean, there are demonic elements that don't want the planet to be influenced by saintly personalities. It's not in their interest at all. They want to keep it very demonic, we see, particularly at this time. But Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he cut through all that. And those devotees in the early days came, so many of them are still here, preaching vigorously after 50 years. So this is a testimony. And we just see here now in Mayapur, on a Sunday, in front of the temple, there are literally millions of high-heeled Calcutta wallas, coming. This is exactly what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted to appeal to all classes of people. He wanted them to accept the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was his heart mission, to have acceptance of Mahaprabhu. So this he preached vigorously. And this was the desire of Srimati Radhika. So she inspired Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in so many ways. But without the connection initially with Srila Bhakti Brigyan Keshav Maharaj, then actually this wouldn't have had the same outcome. That connection had to be there. So today we're celebrating this Vishvarupa mahotsava, the departure of the brother, because it was on this day that Mahaprabhu discovered that his brother had left this world on the bank of the Bhima River at Pandarpura. And this was the day that he discovered that, and this was the day he shaved, etc. And then this was the day that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada took that initiation. So we're remembering both of these pastimes with great happiness and joy today. And this is a celebration that we should never miss and walk past. So now we understand who these personalities are. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vishvarupa ki jai, Sachinandan Gaurahari ki jai, Goprimandi. So I wasn't really planning to start our Gopi Geet today, because now we reached the place of Gopi Geet. But I can share with you what I've already spoken to some degree, which is such an important document I put on our WhatsApp thread today from the Adi Lila, chapter 4, describing from verses, what are the verses? 162 to 225. To understand this nature of the selfless love of the gopis will bring us out of any lustful mentality. We cannot enter this Gopi Geet if we're having desires for pleasure in this material world. If you have any desire for any future success materially, you're not really qualified to hear. They won't, the magic and the potency won't take place if there's too much material desire there in the heart, because it's so much not on the material platform. And what does that mean? That means it's not about lust, it's about prem. So these verses from verse 166 in Adi Lila, chapter 4, I'm going to read through them again. I read them before, but they are so important. It's like a platform that we must secure if we want to travel into this arena of Ras Tattva, because it has nothing to do with this material energy at all. And how to appreciate that? We can appreciate it through understanding the absolute selfless nature of the gopis' prem, which is foreign to us. We all are concerned with our own fulfillment of our material desires, subtly and grossly. We're completely covered by that. But when we hear about the pristine purity of the gopis praying, then perhaps some appreciation for the gopis will manifest in the heart. And then this gopi, to follow in the footsteps of the gopis, if this desire, even a little bit of this desire comes in the heart, your life is fully 1,000,000% successful. And we've described many times that the ingredient that will carry us in there is simply the urgent desire to be there, this greed, this transcendental greed. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yati talabhyate tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukritya nalabhyate. This is Rupa Goswami is saying like this. If you can detect this greed anywhere, run very quickly to that place where that greed is being distributed, because that's where we're going to come in contact with the supreme essence of all the teachings. Rupa Goswami, he's also saying in Upadeshamrita, Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtanam Smitya Kramana Rasana Manasidyoja Tishtem Braje Tanuragi Janugami, to follow in the footsteps of the Brijbasis. This is the essence of all advice. This is what Mahaprabhu, whenever we hear any of the teachings or explanations from Rupa Goswami, we should know this is completely the same desire as Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami and Mahaprabhu are like same in the sense that Rupa Goswami is speaking exactly what he knows his beloved master, because Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined. Rupa Goswami is the servant of that personality. Mahaprabhu's beauty, which attracted everyone, is the beauty of Sri Radhika. Sri Radhika's beauty is just stunning. We cannot imagine her golden features. And these were the features that Mahaprabhu carried. Externally, he had this bhav and kanti. Kanti means complexion. Not just the bhav, but the kanti, the complexion. So Rupa Goswami, whatever he is saying is completely in line with what Mahaprabhu desires. So Rupa Goswami is saying in his Upadeshamrita that following in the footsteps of the Brijbasis, Tishtem Braje Tanuragi Janugami, these personalities of Braj. And this, how do we do that? Simply by following our Guru Varg. Yesterday we celebrated the most beautiful pastime of the Tirabhav of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami. Yes, Maharaj. And his moods and dedication to seva are so inspiring for us to consider in this path of Rag Marg. Without this dedicated seva, as we hear the gopis had, as the gopis themselves are described as having, Srimati Radhika's every atom of her existence is only to please Krishna. When she's manifested from the left side of Krishna, she just immediately runs to Krishna. Krishna, Radhika's energy is like surrounding Krishna on all sides with her mood to please Krishna and hear what is Krishna's desire. Krishna is fully independent, and Radhika is dependent on Krishna. Krishna is Shaktiman, the possessor. Radhika is that energy that is possessed by the possessor. And her every desire is only to please. And then she is manifesting all the Kaya Vyuha, all the servants of all the gopis are manifesting from Sri Radhika. And these gopis are coming in our Guru Varga. These same personalities. All our Guru Varga, they are all these transcendental personalities coming into this world to please Krishna, to serve this service. So this selfless mood is very rare in the world. And when we meet someone, when we hear about someone, when we're in contact with someone, for example, like Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, his mood and dedication for service was so prominent in his life. He would serve his Gurudev by building temples, etc., which was not a particularly wonderful service, dealing with concrete and bricks and cement and so on. But he would do this to please Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. And more than anything, he gave us the focus on pleasing the Guru Varga by glorifying every single person on their appearance day and disappearance day. When those days come up, then he insisted it's an offense if we don't glorify those people. So for me personally, this was a great gift. I can never walk past a particular appearance or disappearance day now. And he has even given us the literature with his beloved Master's book, describing so many personalities that I'd never even heard of before. All the disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati. I would never have come into contact with them unless it was Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. I never would have known of Bhaktivedanta Maharaj either without Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. So many gifts in a mood of seva. So this selfless seva is the embodiment of the gopis. And we see in this verse 166, Krishna's Kaviraj, he wants the conditioned soul to understand the hearts of the gopis, because he knows that by understanding the hearts of the gopis, then we can understand the heart of Mahaprabhu. What did Mahaprabhu want? What was his desire? What was his desires, his three desires? Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima, the greatness of Radha. He wanted to understand the greatness of Radha's love. And this is what he's describing right here. I'm going to describe some of I'm going to read some of these. This is from 166. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's senses, but love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and thus it is very powerful. So lust is the opposite. And then it's describing the gopis' qualifications. They had left social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, fruitive action, shyness, patience, bodily pleasures, sense gratification, and the path of Varnashram, which is difficult to give up. The gopis had forsaken all of these, as well as their own relatives and their punishment and scolding for the sake of serving Krishna. So they dropped everything, their reputation, everything, their shyness. It's the same teaching as Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadhamam Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Aham tam sarve papabhyo mokshayashyami masacha. Krishna is saying, abandon everything. Are we ready to abandon everything? We have to consider this. How else can we enter into this Gopi Gita if we're not ready to abandon everything? At least conceptually. At least entertain the mood, yes, I want to abandon everything. Even if we can't. Even if we've got one foot in this camp and one foot in that camp, okay. But at least be cultivating the desire to drop it all. To be cultivating that desire strongly. And all we have to do is walk a little bit in that direction. And then our Guru Varga is going to come and support us all the way. So then it's saying, that is called firm attachment to Lord Krishna. It is spotlessly pure, like a clean cloth that has no stain. So I went through these the other day when we were discussing Pranaya Gita. But we can hear these 1,000 times, again and again. And every time you hear them, you'll go deeper. It'll never be the same. It's not like describing something that's material. Material, it just gets boring after a while. But when you hear, because each time our whole self goes into the conceptions. So I put on our WhatsApp thread this document which I've just pulled out all the translations. There's, how many verses are there? I think 63 verses. One after the other. And if we print them up and read them regularly and try and imbibe what is the mood, because all of us are at fault when it comes to the distinction between lust and prema. We're all caught in lust of some sort. Attachment to our... There's two types of lust. There's the gross and the subtle. The gross is just direct desire for material objects. The subtle is fame, adoration, and distinction. These three. Wanting to be prominent. From a child, we've wanted to be like that. How are we going to purify that? It's very difficult. But Guru can do that for us. Not that he will actually do it, but he'll point us in the direction where we can do it. Because we are the ones that actually have to do it. You know that. There's no magic here. There's no miracles going to happen. We have to decide ourselves. That's called responsibility. We have to take responsibility for our own souls. But Guru Baladev ultimately will make the indications, and then he'll bring this to our attention. And whether we go that direction or not is always going to be our choice. But the more association we have about the gopis and about Vrindavan, then the more we're going to be inclined in that way. Just today I was reading in the 17th chapter of Jayabadama, the Jiva liberated from Maya. What's that all about? Every single page of that 17th chapter, the Jiva liberated from Maya is about sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. Every single page is saying the same thing. Without this connection, you can't do it on your own. You can't just expect, just by sitting in a reclusive place, that that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're just going to, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said one time, you'll just be spinning around the recording of your own mind. Just going over and over like a record that gets stuck. So, we're wanting to consider these things regularly. And how will we consider these things regularly? If we meet together and talk about these things regularly. We must bring, my Gurudev, he brought to the table this Raskata in a very prominent way. This was his gift. Everyone has their particular gift. My Gurudev, he brought this, these Raskata topics to the very front table. Not that that was all he ever spoke about. He spoke about Prahlad Charita, Dhruva Charita. He spoke the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. He spoke all these different topics, but always prominently coming back to the same point, just like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, glorifying his Swamini, glorifying Sri Radhika. Almost every lecture you listen to of my Srila Gurudev, he always culminates it with the crown of Radhika. Confirmed. Always it would be Radhika. It's always going in that direction, to Sri Radhika. So that, for us, in our education, I'm talking about the Western devotees in particular, when we had Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in the 70s, giving us Krishna, giving us God. We didn't have him before, right? We didn't have, it was either impersonal or an old man with a long white beard sitting on it. We had no idea who was the Lord. So he gave us Krishna. That was monumental. But now, who loves Krishna? Who's the servant of Krishna? Who's the Ashraya? This is Radhika. It's a whole like change around that the devotees have to move through. So my Gurudev, in 20 years preaching, he gave this conception of the prominence of Radha Dasyam. And this same conception is exactly as our Guru Bhag, exactly as Jiva Goswami is saying, exactly Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das, Krishnadas Kaviraj, they all say exactly the same thing. This is how we check for fidelity. Is it in line with the rest of our Guru Varga? Are they all saying the same thing? And we see, yes, they're all saying. Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, he's talking about the gopis here. He's saying, therefore lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. So we're trying to understand Madhurya Prem. So we cannot understand this Madhurya Prem without a platform of Aishwarya. If it's just Madhurya, just sweetness, then that's what regular teenagers go through. What's the difference? The difference when we are understanding this is that we have great, great respect. This Aishwarya platform must be there to place the Madhurya conception on top of. Otherwise, it's Sahajya. Otherwise, we'll be thinking just Radha and Krishna are meeting like we have familiarity in the conditioned world with young lovers meeting. If the Aishwarya conception is not there, so the Aishwarya has to be there. So see the sequence. First it's Krishna, then it's Radha, then we're more or less walking away from Aishwarya, but then we have to come back to Aishwarya and fully embrace respectability for the Shastra, for our full acknowledgement of the height of the Gopi Prem. The gopis themselves, we've described many times this beautiful example, you remember? Of the salt in the water. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives. The salt represents Aishwarya. So in Vaikuntha, 1 spoonful of salt in a glass of water is very salty. But in Braj, a whole sack of salt is there. So much more Aishwarya, because there's so much more prem there. So we must understand the distinction between these lokas, between Goloka Vrindavan and Dwarka and Mathura. My Gurudev used to say, if you don't understand this distinction, you're still on the Kanishta platform. Without understanding the distinction between Dwarka and Vrindavan, then we haven't really moved forward. We haven't really grasped it. So we must take time to really appreciate these. This is verse 172. Thus there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. Can we even imagine that? Are you doing that in any sort of way? I think Madhurya, she's so much running to seven. You have all the qualification of this eagerness and terror, you know, it's very commendable. And this is the right direction. Without a doubt, this is the direction. When we are putting my seva in front of my own personal comfort. It's not an easy thing to do. It is once we get the higher taste. I can even remember this lady, you probably know of her, Amma, her name is. She's in the Western world and so on. I have many friends who have been to her and so on. Yes, the Haga. And she was asked once, because she works something like 17 hours a day, non-stop. And one interview reporter was asking, how can you do that? And she said, when there's something that you love, then you don't consider time or your strength to do it. You just perform that activity. So this is the same mood for the devotees. And we see in the light of our Guru, like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, for example, that there was never a moment when he would sort of like be looking for some type of relief. My Guru was the same. He would go to Hawaii regularly, but he would go to Hawaii to write, just to get some space so that he would have. This is where the juice is. When we're serving, we're not aware of anything else except the bliss of that service. And we have to experience that. Like just now, you just arranged all and organized that whole festival. You must have been in bliss in so many moments of the arrangement of that, and especially the culmination of it. The satisfaction to see so many devotees gathering together. That whole prasadam, people were waiting outside to get in, right? So all this is your seva to your Guru Maharaj, directly. This is a wonderful example every year, but how can we incorporate that in the other 364 days of the year? Can we catch up that same spirit of that seva? Only when we're completely running to serve to consider the selfless nature of the gopis. The gopis say, "Oh dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, only in you. Our minds therefore are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about the forest path." This is the last verse of Gopi Gita. Tatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu pita chanaishame pramit karkasheshu tena tabimatachyadyatena kimsvit kurapadi vibramati dear padari samna. And the gopis there are in anxious distress that Krishna may his tender feet, but they're not understanding that Prithivi has put her tongue out, and everywhere Krishna walks, he's walking on the tongue of Prithivi, and even the thorns are becoming like rubber. So Krishna's not inconvenienced, but the mood, it's the mood. My Gurudev used to stress all the time, it's the mood. It's the mood that we are seeking. It's the mood. The logical, rational strictures of tattva, so to speak, don't really resonate in the rasa arena. Rupa Goswami has said that logic and rationality cannot actually enter into the rasic considerations. It's just the spontaneous, loving attraction. And this we see in the gopis. They renounced everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. So there's verse after verse after verse, 63 verses. So we made a document this morning, and I would encourage you all to regularly look at that while you're chanting and consider the import of that in your own practical life, rather than just like in the mind, but how are we practically able to apply this in our activities and so on? Are we able to, in some form or other, increase each day that mood and vision of our service to our Guru? Because Guru will always reciprocate. Immediately, Guru will reciprocate. That's how we feel inspired, because he's always reciprocating with us. Never stops. Not only Guru, but the whole Guru Varga. So, I was going to do a short class today, but we've come out, but we stopped. I tried to just now make a somewhat of an introduction for tomorrow, for our Gopi Gita. We're going to start on the Gopi Gita tomorrow. So I'm thinking it's essential that we understand the selfless mood of the gopis to enter into Gopi Gita. Otherwise, we won't catch the purport. It'll be conditioned, mundane material. So we'll stop now. So Vishvarupa mahotsava ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Gopi Prem ki jai, Guru Varga ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Don't play too loudly, you covered me right over. So don't play so loudly. I don't sing very loudly, just soft. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. I have no such qualities as selfless service, surrender. I'm trying to convince myself to do that. That's why I'm speaking about it. Understand? I want to come to that place desperately, but I'm lagging behind. But I want to pick up that determination. And by speaking about these topics, that encourages me. Shila Gurudev ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavena Namo Namaha.